I think by reviewing our agreements and why we were there, to think, listen, and talk together, to be respectful, and to think deeply, and that also goes with the expectations for a philosophical question. I also reviewed some of the things from the previous session that we had together with PfC, and after that lesson they had said that they wanted to work on sharing the ball more, because they were just throwing to friends, and so bringing that up and giving it a focus to, like, remember you guys said last time you wanted to work on this, so let's make sure we work on that. So just kind of reviewing things that we did prior that they wanted to work on, and setting the agreements for what we're doing there today. I think by setting, like I said earlier, clear guidelines, right? Like, here are our agreements, we're going to follow them, and then holding kids to them. You know, I saw a couple kids like signaling others and holding us to those agreements, and also setting up clear expectations, right? Here is how you can clearly make a philosophical question. And here's the criteria, and it's posted, and they know it. And it's clear that they know it because they can say it, you know, they can repeat it, they can show it. Most of those questions were amazing philosophical questions. So I think by setting those clear guidelines as a teacher, it allows me to then not be so teacher focused. Like, they could really run that probably without me sitting there, because they have clear guidelines. It's crucial, right? And if you're not organized, then your kids sense it, and then your lesson's just going to go haywire. In this kind of capacity of P4C, where there really isn't a lot of structure, I don't know where they're going to go. As long as I've set some clear guidelines, they can go anywhere, right? They knew the procedures, they knew what we were going to do. I didn't have to. We do the same sort of things most of the time, so it's not a lot of questions about, like, well, how do I vote, or where do I do this, or where do I put this, or how do I write? You know, they've done it so much, and we keep that routine, so they're successful. They don't have to think about it. There's no questions to me about, where do I put my notebook, or how long am I going to do this? They just know, they can anticipate. I guess maybe being routine is good. My classroom is an inclusion classroom, so there are 4 students in there who have an IEP, and especially for them, having a structured routine and having consistency helps them to be successful. So they don't have any worry about, well, what are we going to do next, and what's going to happen, and how is this going to go? Because for them, they won't be able to pay attention to what we're actually doing, because they're so anticipating what's going to happen. And it's the same for all kids. I mean, kids can succeed when they know the expectations, and they know the outline and the perimeter and what they can and cannot do. And so again, just having a clear routine and a clear structure of what's okay and what's not okay. I felt like they were engaged, but like one student said, I guess, you know, we think that kids are listening because they're quiet, so I will see a lot more when I sit down to read their responses. That will tell me how engaged they really were. If their thinking has changed, if they have another new kind of follow-up question, that tells me if they were maybe mentally engaged and just not feeling comfortable enough, maybe having so many people in the classroom or whatever, you know, to share out. They weren't, but if their writing followed kind of an outline of change or having new thoughts, that tells me that there was some engagement. Also, in the reflection at the end, I asked them, was it interesting? They're honest, you know, and most of them were thumbs up. You know, there were a couple that were sideways, but they really didn't have a reason, you know. So that tells me right there that they were listening, right? Oh, it comes from them. That was their question. And you heard the examples, right? Those are things that are happening in their everyday life. It's not necessarily like in social studies, but it's in daily life of a 5th grader. You know, why are we being underestimated? So things that they're thinking and experiencing and wondering, this is something that's happening in everyday life for them. So it's very meaningful, right? They're all experiencing something similar to that. Well, with more time, I think it would have come to a place of talking about power. It was kind of going there, right? And I would love to have more of a written response from kids about power and the shift of power. It ties right into social studies, right? We're talking about early colonization and power and different countries being here and them fighting for power because it's all related, right? And showing them that relationship would be a nice continuation of that.